his first visit to campus. Brooklyn Williams says he knew then the Aurora University football team was the dream he worked his entire life for.
I was so stuck on Aurora and like the picture they painted of the brotherhood.
But he says the reality was different.
Another teammate I had of mine came in and was like, "What are you doing sleeping here? Don't you guys sleep in trees?" In that moment I knew it clicked that he was calling me a monkey.
That was one of the racial comments Williams says some of his white teammates made to him the night of August 21st. He says he was staying at his teammate's house to save him time commuting from school to back home.
So one of my teammates had called me the N-word and was like, "You better not go in my room."
He says it escalated from racial slurs to a comment referencing George Floyd.
$1 million in damages to Michael Magnum in his lawsuit against the company. And Magnum's suit claims he was racially profiled while shopping at the Wood Village Walmart in 2020. The lawsuit also claims Walmart repeatedly ignored warnings from law enforcement about a pattern of inappropriate calls.
For 12 and a half years.
For years, Jennifer Harris climbed the FedEx corporate sales ladder. During her career, she won numerous company awards, including the top award more than once.
People go their entire career and never accomplish President's Club. So being able to do that twice.
But Jennifer says awards didn't stop workplace discrimination, and it all started with this from a supervisor.
You have been very successful as an account executive, and it doesn't seem as if you love your job, that you should consider, going back to something that you love.
Jennifer eventually turned to this father-daughter attorney team for help.
The Declaration of Independence was a statement adopted by the Second Continental Congress on July 4, 1776, announcing that the 13 American colonies would separate from Great Britain and from their own countries, known as the United States of America. Penned primarily by Thomas Jefferson, the document is divided into 5 sections with its introduction and preamble, outlining the foundational principles of American government.
The fight for racial justice is one of the most well-known throughout all of America's long and varied history. From every minor fight to the Great Civil War, it is one of the most well-fought ones.
A fact that many do not know is that the great founders of our country of freedom, such as George Washington, James Madison, Benjamin Franklin, and even the principal writer of the document that founded America, Thomas Jefferson, had slaves themselves.
This surprises many, seeing as in the document that made America, the Declaration of Independence, some of the main principles talked about are liberty and freedom. In fact, in one of the most famous lines from the Declaration, it is stated that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
The same people advocating for equality and liberty between all men in the Declaration owned other human beings, treating them as lesser and taking away those important rights of liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Sadly, the same problems that wrap the true meaning of freedom still affect us today, yet more subtly.
Hello, I'm Khalid Ismail.
I'm Umar Aqiyah.
Today we are interviewing Faiza Rabani. So, could you describe how you define racial injustice in the context of our community?
I would define it as patterns, which has become as so systematic that the inclusion and the segregation of in schools, policies, housing, healthcare, jobs, and even freedom of speech may not seem that visible anymore. It has crept so deeply into the system, into the fabric of every organization of our society. And ironically, currently the people being most targeted don't even realize the implication and the effects that they are having with the racial discrimination. So having said that, I believe that I would look for 2-3 most important things. That would be the disparity of outcomes, which means that when you see results are far worse than for some racial groups. For example, let's take the example of mortgage terms or eviction rates. And then you can talk about the disparity of treatment, where some people are treated differently because on grounds of color, culture, heritage. Disparity of power, when you will find some people saying most in any power.
How do you see the principles of the Declaration of Independence? For example, all men are created equal, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, relating to the issue of racial justice today.
Okay, Declaration of Independence must act as a moral compass for us. It should be taken as a measuring stick for the society. And these are the ideals that every state for the society, and these are the ideals the state all are created equal, which means equal rights to life, liberty, any pursuit of happiness that the society is having within that that area. Now, how is racial injustice factored in here? We can see that in liberty, when liberty or freedom is not experienced equally by everyone, or you can say that the pursuit of happiness is constrained by the inequality and discrimination. For example, wealth, housing, school access, education, and equality. You can talk about equality, which seems like a verbal banner right now or slogan instead of a system requirement.
Okay, so I have one last question for you. How does the issue of racial injustice affect the demographic groups differently? For example, black people, Asians, etc.
Okay. You can actually take racial discrimination and you can root it back in history. If we talk about racial discrimination towards the people of color, so the African American people were mostly affected, and it started in the during the Great Depression time. Especially I can just quote one example for you, that is the redlining of the areas that started in 1930 during the Great Depression, and it was finalized by the homeowners loan corporation, and they just outlined the minority neighborhoods as hazardous red line because they want to deny them loans, and they wanted to segregate the whole thing. So it's more, you can say that it is more towards the people of color, which are not considered as pure-blooded or Native Americans for them. Maybe some of the Native Americans we think as historically proven correctly that they are indigenous and they are Native Indians, but they don't believe in such thing anymore. So we can talk about the political power dilution as well, that unequal treatment, unequal criminal laws, and the justice system. Everything has. You talk about the statistics, that you will see that black people are more disproportionately prosecuted.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Racism is one example of how important it is to openly discuss issues that are socially unjust and create public pressure to remove systematic barriers that sustain those inequalities. We must continue addressing racism through all forms of advocacy if we are going to have a culture of respect. It needs to be best established by holding ourselves and others accountable for our actions and behaviors, as well as for how we think about and treat those who don't look like us or share our values.
It should be noted that although the Declaration of Independence speaks to the ideals of freedom and independence, the authors of this document do not appear to have included everyone as an equal participant in these principles. This has implications for the continuing struggle towards racial equality in America today.
The struggle towards equality continues today. The notion of life with liberty, free will, and the pursuit of happiness promulgated by the Declaration of Independence can be contrasted with the struggles of those who have forever pushed for inclusion in the American dream. Ultimately, the future of American democracy will depend on its ability to address the contradiction between its principles and the realities faced by citizens.